Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, Consultant Physician Staff Association preparing for a possible fourth wave. Government eyeing housing for families in need. A local group called for action to combat gender-based violence. MSC committed to responsible operations on Ocean Key. Welcome to our News Weekend, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgia Bain, topping news tonight. 233 people were approved by the former government for employment in July 2021, just 2 months before the 16th of September general election, according to Minister of State for Public Service Pierre Glover-Roll, who hit back at comments made by former Minister Brensel Roll on Thursday. Of that number, Glover-Roll said 85 people remain unposted because upon assuming office, an immediate hold was placed on those hires pending a status review. She added 68 persons hired just prior to the general election, mostly on the Family Islands, were already placed on the government's payroll. However, they are under review due to gross attendance irregularities. The Minister of State said it is egregious and disgraceful to give persons official letters of employment but with nowhere to report, or to just have them report to agencies that in turn send them back to the public service. On Thursday, the former Minister of Public Service said that Glover-Roll's assertion that the administration hired people up to the day of the last election is totally untrue, and that her threat that some of those persons may be disengaged is disgraceful and an act of victimization. Well, expired emergency orders, large gatherings, and a holiday season could be a recipe for a potential fourth wave. This is according to President of the Consultant Physician Staff Association, Dr. Sabrika Pinder-Butler. She says healthcare workers are preparing for this possibility.
We know that Thanksgiving is coming up. We tend to have a lot of persons travel around that time and congregate. We know that Christmas is coming up and other holidays, and we do know that as a people, we are social by nature. We interact a lot, perhaps maybe even more than in some other countries. So it is absolutely concerning. It's something that we have to watch for seriously.
Large parties and a concert said to have taken place last weekend, raising red flags for members of the CPSA. Pinder-Butler says while it is understandable that many are suffering from pandemic fatigue and were looking forward to curfew restrictions ending, large crowds should still be avoided.
We're always mindful when we see large groupings and persons not social distancing or wearing masks, and following those protective or preventative measures that we have found to be effective in the fight of COVID-19. So certainly there would be a concern when there are those types of activities occurring more in country, because we know that we're still dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic.
She said while the consistent decline of COVID-19 cases is encouraging, residents should not throw caution to the wind.
Mindful of how we interact and not to, throw caution to the wind wholeheartedly and forget about all of those things, because, that will set us back again. We've been seeing that our numbers have certainly decreased from when we had, the COVID surge, but we don't want to further escalate things by us not following those preventative measures. So certainly something that we're concerned about.
Well, Social Service Minister Obi Wilchcombe announcing plans to provide housing for homeless families. He says it will be a long-term plan as people in need try to get back on their feet. Our Bethany McDermott reports.
The government is exploring the idea of building housing facilities for Bahamians living below the poverty line, according to Social Services Minister Obi Wilchcombe.
We are discussing with private developers now the possibility, and even those who come to me discussing PPs. So we're looking at various ways to deal with it. The problem is we do have a problem, and we have not given enough attention to the problem.
Wilchcombe hit out at previous housing programs, noting that not enough attention was given to the problem. In November 2020, Then Social Services Minister Frankie Campbell said $1.2 million was earmarked for rental assistance, but said assistance offered was on a yearly basis. However, Wilshcombe has something different in mind.
We have over a period of time rented temporary 1 week, 2 weeks, put people into problems, but what about the transition? They're there for 1 week, and then what happens the next week? They're told they have to leave, but they haven't secured a job yet, so you're right back to square one. So what we're trying to do is put together a program that will allow for someone to have some temporary residence for a period of time, maybe a month, maybe 2, maybe 3, and at the same time have and work with the Department of Labor in securing jobs.
He said the aim is to have those facilities on New Providence, Grand Bahama, and on other family islands if needed. Back in May, Acting Social Services Director Kim Sawyer said the government spent $2.4 million in rental assistance amid the global pandemic. From the period of July 2020 to April 2021, 2,118 households were approved for rental assistance on New Providence and Grand Bahama. Wilshcombe said many are oblivious to the true extent of homelessness in the Bahamas.
I think many Bahamians are unaware of the level to which the problem exists. We have so many Bahamians who are homeless, so many who have lost their homes, so many who have been having to deal with difficult times. I spent some time on the streets in Freeport, for example, and went to some areas where people are squatters and they identify themselves as squatters, living in abandoned apartments, living in places like the International Bazaar.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
And recent acts of violence against women and children prompting members of the civil society to renew calls for action to combat gender-based violence. As Christina Dragovich tells us, the groundwork has already been laid.
When did we get here? How did we get here? And so we're saying, listen, let us stand together, condemn these acts, but then refrain from being perpetrators.
The chair of the Bahamas chapter of Caribbean Women in Leadership says her members are ready to get to work and lend support wherever possible to end the scourge of violence in the country. Charlene Paul speaks with Our News.
That this is a national crisis. This is not just a women's issue. Women and girls' issues need to come to the forefront to address the violence. This scourge only further deteriorates us as a people.
In 2015, the National Task Force for Gender-Based Violence penned a strategic plan to address the issue. That committee, headed by retired Justice Ruby Nottage, laid out a plan for immediate implementation and the 10 low-hanging fruits. Among those short-term solutions include the creation of a unified family court, a focus on male mentoring, and an early intervention program for children exposed to violence.
It's not a lack of resources. Unfortunately, it has been a lack of willpower. And so just pushing it aside doesn't make the problem go away. And so even if we have to tweak to remove some of the controversial pieces so that we can get the larger pieces done, then we have got to also be prepared to do that.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Chief Operating Officer of MSC Cruises USA, Kent Muscat, says the company is implementing a number of measures in an effort to operate sustainably and responsibly. One of the latest projects is CV, a planned conservation center on MSC's private island Ocean Key.
Well, MSC Cruises is completely committed to improving natural resources and being environmentally friendly. The entire cruise industry is very much focused on that. Not only do you see it in things like we talked about today in Ocean Key with the Conservation Center and what we're doing with super coral and research and the marine life, but also the way that we operate these ships and becoming net zero carbon impact by 2050, doing things with LED lighting and the fuel consumption and the paint that we use on the ships to be more fuel efficient. So everything possible from an environmental and a marine perspective to be friendly to the waters as the cruise industry continues to grow.
Muscat says the project is expected to be completed in less than a year, adding that research at the center will focus on supercorals and their ability to survive in warming waters. Muscat hailed the project as a sign of the company's commitment to sustainability.
We're partnering with the University of Miami and Nova Southeastern to bring students here to the island to do coral research and really focus on super coral, and use this as an opportunity to really see what we can find out, what we can discover, the research that we can find, and not only share it with the Bahamas, but share it with the world. So the students are going to be involved, our guests are going to be able to experience everything that's happening and see it firsthand, and really use this as a prototype for something that can happen and positively impact the rest of the world, which is very exciting.
Ocean Key is located roughly 20 miles south of Bimini. MSC says the emphasis is on providing guests with the opportunity to engage with marine life and nature. The $200 million project began in March 2016 and was delayed by the destructive wave action of Category 5 Hurricane Dorian in September 2019. The island welcomed its first MSC guests on December 5, 2019. Well, still to come on our news weekend, packing houses on the Family Islands to be revamped and changes rolling in for the public transportation system. Find out the details after this.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough." Then Santa kicked back, relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic and more Christmas to you.
You're watching our news weekend. Welcome back. Minister of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs Clay Sweeting led a delegation on a tour of the Green Turtle Key and Hatchet Bay packing houses this week. The Hatchet Bay packing house has been closed for the last 4 months as it undergoes construction set to be completed next month. Sweeting says there are some minor issues he noticed during the tour and he's moving to swiftly address.
We noticed a lot of minor issues to get it up to be functional. Issues such as a truck being licensed and insured, so small issues and stuff that could be addressed very quickly. We're going to make it happen. We're also looking at ways to encourage farmers where they are able to sell their product at the packing house in Greencastle, become more involved and engage them so they realize that they got a friend with the ministry.
According to Sweeting, the packing houses will have a full staff to address concerns of farmers who are looking for a place to sell their crops.
We are able to hear the issues, be able to sit and discuss how we can resolve them and ways to really move the communities forward and the constituency. They were very excited because they felt involved. They haven't seen a ministry really to sit down and discuss issues on that level in a long time. Some even said ever. We really do not have any influence in the communities. They've been not really been invested in.
Sweeting says his ministry is looking to revamp packing houses throughout the country to make them more efficient.
You really do not have any influence in the communities. They've been not really been invested in. So we're looking at using them and engaging them with the farmers, the livestock producers, as well as using some of our pilot projects in these family islands, such as poultry farming, and finding ways to expand the economy and really come to grips that food security is necessary.
Several changes on the way for the busing system, according to Transport Minister JoBeth Colby-Davis, who said many proposals are on the table, including Metro cards and GPS tracking systems.
I just met with some of the persons that was a part of that team. I think the structure for the most part was very well laid out. How do we re-engage and get that back up and running is some of the discussions that we are now having. Quite a lot of restructuring going on down at Road Traffic Department. So I'm working through that as well and also trying to get them a permanent home built. And so a lot of work on that end. But definitely we will be doing a lot of changes when it comes to the busing system.
Colby-Davis says her ministry is also reviewing the proposed unification busing program as well as the implementation of a cashless system.
We're trying to implement a GPS tracking system through an app that persons who use the bus and then the bus drivers could all share on that app and be able to identify routes and locations, and some other stuff that will be rolling out, probably a cashless system with the use of Metro cards. And so we have to look at where we'll place the kiosk machines and stuff and help the tourists to be able to engage the bus use more as well. So cleaning up a little bit and then seeing how we can venture into possibly getting back into that unification program.
Transport officials are also in discussions with Minister of Health Dr. Michael Darwell to determine how bus drivers can get back to operating at full capacity.
We met with a few of the association, and we will be looking to meet with the bus drivers next, because another thing that I'm trying to do, which I am discussing with my cabinet colleague, Minister of Health, is another collaboration that allows the bus drivers to get back to 100% operation. And that one is something that he is now trying to adjust how he would implement protocols to get them back fully operational, because I think they're still operating at 50%. So that's something that I'm also discussing with my cabinet colleague, and hopefully we can bring some resolution soon to them as well.
When our news weekend returns, Bahamians head to Expo 2020 in Dubai and walking the International Film Festival red carpet. The details when our news returns.
Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said, it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough. Then Santa kicked back, he relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic and more Christmas to you.
192 countries are participating in Expo 2020, which opened on October 1st. The Bahamas' pavilion is showcased in the sustainability quadrant. Director of Development Janet Johnson called it the most exciting tourism event on the calendar this year. The team of 8 will spend 5 months living abroad to manage the pavilion.
We are very pleased that the Ministry of Tourism and the Deputy Prime Minister has embraced this opportunity. There will be 8 people that have been identified and are being prepared to go to Dubai for the 5 months now to operate the pavilion. They're very excited, I can tell you.
Representatives have undergone numerous training sessions from veteran marketing experts and have studied pocket guides in preparation for their trip.
We've had sessions with them, and there's a big session on Monday as well with them to sort of assimilate them into the culture, because it is a different culture, and to also talk about sales and marketing, because some of them are new to the process, so that they are well prepared going over.
Johnson encouraged Bahamians to explore the Bahamas' Expo social media pages, as well as those of other countries.
Going home at night, we had to pass major pavilions like India and Israel, and Singapore was by far the very iconic, and just a huge vertical garden at the Expo. And when I watched something on CNN with them while I was there, and they said that they'd been nurturing these plants for over a year because the Expo was delayed.
Some of the country's brightest young stars walk the red carpet at the first ever Poitiers Mobile Festival. It's the first children's film festival in the region and the brainchild of actress Rowena Poitiers-Sutherland.
BAM is presenting POMO, that's the Bahamas Artist Movement. BAM is presenting POMO after partnering with Fusion, with LFD Productions, and we've come together to create a course called the Acting and Film Kids Club here at Fusion. So that was an 8-week course. We resume again as of January 15th. So on the heels of that course, we decided to showcase the children's films that are, and we have children from ages 5 to 14, and the films are all under 2 minutes.
30 students participated in the filmmaking course. This week, 10 films were presented by 3 teams. Poitier Sutherland said the driving force behind the course and the award show was to ensure that Bahamian children no longer have to travel abroad to follow their dreams.
I was that kid. And so it is a beautiful thing. This is needed in our country. We're empowering children and teaching them all aspects of the industry. And so they were taught how to direct, they were taught how to produce, how to DP, camera ops, acting techniques. And so we allow them in their groups to come together to decide independently who would have what role, directors and writing the story. They came together, they did that, and they shot themselves. And so what our facilitators did is we just supported them.
At the end of the night, the budding actors, actresses, directors, and producers walked away with miniature Oscar trophies and a certificate of participation. But these stars say the real prize was getting to participate in the course.
What I want to be when I grow up is actually an actor. So they actually taught me the first thing I need to know for being an actor. So it was a pretty good program.
Not only was it an informative program that teaches you a lot about acting and different aspects of film, it's a really fun program. So not only do you do what you love and have fun doing it, you're actually retaining information. So I really love this program.
And they unleashed their creativity while coming up with movie ideas.
It was about 3 children and 2 daycare keepers, and at the start of it's like normal, but then like at the end it's like really scary.
Lily got into detention for not doing his test, and Liam got in trouble for not controlling his temper, and they actually helped each other. And after that, the plot twist that they were actually brother and sister.
Godmother of the Odyssey of the Seas, Erin Brown, was a special presenter at the award show. She said it couldn't come at a better time.
Pomo Film Festival gives me hope that access is around the corner for all children to share their authentic selves in the way that they need to do it and choosing it their way.
The next session starts January 15th. To enroll, visit BAM Bahamas on social media. Well, up next, the Girl Guides Association aims to increase its membership. Stay with us.
'Twas the night before Christmas, but down on the beach, Santa was worried, his sleigh out of reach. To make sure this Christmas did not end up tragic, he must call the elves to bring some real magic. They laughed and they said it's not all about business. This year we've decided to deliver more Christmas. With giveaways 31 days in a row, we'll fill up your stockings with prizes and dough. Then Santa kicked back, he relaxed as he knew. Rev delivers real magic and more Christmas to you.
Assistant Chief Commissioner of the Bahamas Girl Guides Association, Elmer Garraway, is calling on all former Brownies and Rangers to return to the club. She revealed that the Girl Guides are planning on adding another ranking to the group.
A Friends of Guiding would be wonderful. We have been reaching out individually to women who we know were guides and are willing to contribute, and they have been giving, we have asked $300 from each person who was a former guide to contribute to the building. Many have, we haven't reached them all, so we hope that those under the sound of my voice, and they don't have to give it all at once. Some have been giving $100 at a time, $50 at a time, until they've met.
In addition to assisting with fundraising efforts, Garraway says the new additions will also be tasked with mentorship.
We're only phone calls away, headquarters here. We're online, bgga.org. You can contribute online, or we can come to your organization. We can come to you. We will find ways. We need your support. In supporting the Girl Guides, you are supporting the girls and women of the Bahamas.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.